I grew up in a typical immigrant family. I was born in Seoul, South Korea, and my family and I moved to the States when I was 3 years old. Being so young when we emigrated, picking up a new language and culture was a non-issue for me. And like many immigrant families, my parents relied heavily on my older brother and me for that very reason, to help them interpret and navigate this country. And as a typical kid, I was self-absorbed, I was cocky, I was highly inconvenienced whenever my parents would ask me to translate their bills or doctor's orders or whatever needed clarification. One day when I was in college, finding my own voice, learning about socially and politically marginalized groups, and exercising my leftist activist leanings, my mom asked me to look over something for her. I don't recall what it was, maybe a bank statement. No matter, I was dismissive as I usually was. With little attempt, I'm sure, at hiding my frustration and impatience, I tersely translated what was on the page, not checking for or caring for actual comprehension. Sweet mercy, I fumed silently. My parents had been in the United States for nearly 20 years, and they still couldn't understand a simple document. It was embarrassing. It was worrisome. It made them look bad. It made me look bad. And most of all, it made it glaringly suspect whether or not we belonged. My mother's voice interrupted my dark and clouded thoughts. Actually, her silence did. She turned and looked at me, or maybe she didn't. I must reiterate how consumed I was by my own pride. I was too busy resenting the situation to really pay attention to anything or anyone else. But something had changed in the room, something that made me present. And then I remember my mom said very matter-of-factly, "I am not stupid." There it was. My mother had finally voiced what I would never admit to feeling. Her tone wasn't angry or sad. Perhaps there was a hint of irritation, but really it was a calm affirmation of her worth. With surgical precision, concise and accurate in execution, she put me in my place. Or rather, she assumed her rightful place as the incredibly strong and capable woman she is, deserving of my utmost respect. She didn't have to say anything more. I was left alone to confront myself. And I was ugly. So I was so caught up in trying to gloss over my family's roots that I adopted the very thing I resented. I had adopted that oppressive, racist view of the world of my parents. I cringed at kimchi, broken English, and slanted eyes. As those were the things I feared would define me, I started defining my own mother by them. And there she was, calling out her supposedly enlightened, college-educated daughter. I had to face it. I did think my mother was lesser. Somehow I had equated her not being fluent in English to her not being intelligent, to her needing my help, to her being weak. My mom, who worked 70 hours a week and simply did not have the luxury of time to perfect her English. My mom, who learned not only to survive, but thrive in a new country and nurture her family. My mom, who made the best kimchi jjigae, didn't need to speak a common language to communicate warmth to people, and possessed genuine beauty. I thought she was lesser. I was such an asshole. And yet, she is my mom, my Oma. She is quick to laugh and quick to forgive and forget. So a few years later, when I had matured enough to own what happened that day, I mentioned it to her. I told my Oma how it jarred me out of my ignorance and arrogance. She laughed and asked incredulously, "Really? 진짜?" She claimed she did not remember this incident, and then she apologized to me for making me feel bad. No, I cried. It was just what I needed. I'm thanking you. I don't think she quite understood what I was trying to say. We still have our communication glitches. Our mothers are usually our first and most important teachers. We expect that they will teach us basic survival skills, personal hygiene, cooking, reading, and the like. We know they are full of wisdom and love, giving us what we need when we need it. I needed a slap in the face that day, and I got it. My mom taught me that I had it all wrong. For all the time she told me I was beautiful, it was when she allowed me to see myself clearly that I could begin moving forward and stop embarrassing my mother.